Hello guys, welcome back to another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and the translation reads like this. Hello brother Nashi, how are you? There is a story that I want to share with you. Currently, I am staying in the United Kingdom, but I do have some properties back in Zim. Most of the times I'll be here in the United Kingdom, but here and there I do come back to Zim so that I can fulfill the rituals that I am supposed to fulfill. My story started when I was still in Zim. My father and my mother and some of my siblings, they left me back home in Zim because at that time there was a lot of problems that was happening to me, and I had to sort out those problems that were happening to me. So when my mom, my dad, and my siblings left Zim for the United Kingdom, I was left behind, and my dad told me that since I was the firstborn, I was supposed to be left behind so that I can take care of the house. We had our own house, which was in Mount Pleasant. After my dad and my mom and my sister had traveled to the United Kingdom, at that time, my dad, he was still working for this other company. It was called PTC. When they went to the United Kingdom, I saw that I was now a free man. I could do whatever I wanted to do. So many times I would call my dad and I would lie to him that there was some money that was needed so that I can sort out my papers. I had lost my birth certificate and my ID. So those were some of the problems that I needed to sort out before I could go and join with my family that were already in the United Kingdom. But when I was left alone and when I saw that freedom was really sweet, I didn't want to go to the United Kingdom anymore, because on each and every monthly basis, my father and my mom, they made sure that they would send some money to me. And my mom, she really treated me very well. She used to send me a lot of clothes. Without their knowledge, I then chased away some of my mother's relatives as their caretaker. They told me that I was supposed to take care of some of my mom's relatives, my mom's uncle in particular, who was sick at that time. But because money was so sweet to me, I then chased them away, and there was no way for them to get into contact with my family, because at that time communication was really difficult. It was the time when people still had landlines. For you to communicate, you had to write letters and stuff. So whenever my father wanted to communicate with his relatives, he would send a letter, but I was the one who was supposed to receive that letter first. So what I used to do is that I would open the letter, then I would read the letter. If my father would mention that he wanted to send any of his relatives any money, then I will rewrite the letter and I will seal the letter as if I had never opened it before. This is what I used to do. After I had tasted the good life, I started to be friends with a lot of people. I used to go to this other bar where we used to go and gamble. Whilst we were gambling, that is when I met this other man. He told me that he had a secret. That is why he kept on winning whenever he would be at the gambling table. I told him that I wanted whatever charm that he had, because I pictured myself going around these casinos so that I can win a lot of money. He then told me to call him whenever I was okay financially. I then asked my father for a lot of money. He asked me why I needed this money. Then I told him that I wanted to renovate the house. I lied to him that in the neighborhood there were a lot of break-ins, so I needed some money so that I can renovate the house and put some burglar bars on some of the windows that didn't have any burglar bars, but I was just lying. After a few days, my dad told me that he was going to wire the money to me. I went and I collected the money that he had sent me from the United Kingdom. Then I went and I picked up that old man who came to me, and we performed the rituals. After we had performed the rituals, he told me that these rituals are done when you want to become a Nyau dancer. That is how I became a ritualist. And he said that since I was not from Malawi and I wanted to be part of that brotherhood, then I was supposed to make a sacrifice so that I can be accepted into the brotherhood. I was initiated in this other bush that was somewhere there in Highfields. That is where the brotherhood was located. I went there, then they made me to eat a live chicken, and the chicken that I ate, it was white in color. The chicken that I ate, they just gave me a live chicken. Then they told me that I was supposed to eat that chicken whilst it was still alive. They just pointed at that chicken's stomach and they said that I was supposed to start eating that live chicken from the stomach. It was really terrible, but I had to do it. I was so desperate for that charm since I was so much into gambling. After I had finished eating up that chicken, they told me that in my life, I was not supposed to eat any meat that was seasoned with salt. Even up until today, I do not eat any meat that is seasoned with salt. And I have never told my wife the reason why I do not eat any meat that will be seasoned with salt. After that, my brother, I started to go to a lot of gambling houses. Some of them were illegal gambling houses, and I used to win a lot. But I started to experience a lot of dreams that I could not understand. I went back to that old man and I told him everything that was happening to me. He told me that since I was initiated into that Nyau dance brotherhood, I had to go ahead with my sacrifice because I had begged him to initiate me, to get me initiated into that Nyau dance brotherhood before I could perform my sacrifice. I thought that the sacrifice that he meant, it was just money, and I knew that I was able to pay him whatever money that he was going to ask of me, but I didn't know that there was blood money that was going to be involved. I was then told that I had to sacrifice my father, and indeed I sacrificed my father. The year that my father died, it was in the year 2001. That is when I became a ritualist. And after I had sacrificed my father, that man moved back to Malawi, and I just lost interest in being a Nyau dancer. And I just stayed like that. After the death of my father, my mom begged me to relocate to the United Kingdom. So in the year 2003, that is when my visa came out, and I went to the United Kingdom and I rejoined with my family. I stayed for many years before I came back to Zim. The reason why I came back to Zim, it was because I started to have a lot of bad dreams. And one day, whilst I was walking in a very scary forest, but this was in my dreams, that is when I met that man who had taken me to that bush in Highfield where I was initiated into that brotherhood. He told me that it was time for another sacrifice, and I had to build a house. And once I had built a house, I was supposed to place my charm in this other room where no one was supposed to enter into that room. I asked him if it was okay for me to build a house in this country that I was staying in. Then that old man just laughed and he disappeared. That is why I had to travel back home once I had enough money. I came back, then I bought another residential stand, then I started with my building project. When I was busy building my house, I never left Zim because I wanted everything to be done properly. After they had built the house, I then chose this other room, and that room that I had chosen, it was going to be my study room, but it was only a study room in name only. This room was nothing but the room that I had chosen so that the charm was going to stay in that room. After I had chosen that room, then that man came back to my dreams and he told me that before anything had been moved into that newly built house, I was supposed to go and sleep inside that house. So I went and I slept inside that house, but throughout the night I could not sleep because a lot of old men kept on coming in and out of that house. Some of them, they would even come into the room where I was sleeping. Then they would beat me up. When the morning came, my face was so swollen and I had to go and sleep in a guest house because I didn't want people to see that my face was so swollen like that. But after I was okay, when I returned back, I just had a feeling that I was supposed to open that room that I had chosen for it to be my study room. When I had opened that room, I saw that on the floor there was an empty clay pot, and I was told everything that I was supposed to do. 5 times a year, I have to put my semen into that clay pot. That is why I am always globe-trotting, traveling between the United Kingdom and Zim. Even my wife, she doesn't even suspect that she got married to a ritualistic man. When I got married to my wife, I made sure that she always stay in Zim. And I told her that since I am always traveling between UK and Zim, there is no need for her to come and join me here in the United Kingdom. Yes, sometimes she do comes for some holidays with our kids, but we are permanently based in Zim. The reason why it is because I am supposed to keep on doing these sacrifices. So I kept on doing these rituals after I had finished building my house. Then the dreams came back again, and the dreams, when they came back, I was told that I was supposed to sacrifice my wife. And the way that I love my wife, I can't even think of sacrificing my wife. And I was told that if I didn't want to sacrifice my wife, then I had to come up with another sacrifice. And the man that I chose so that he can be my sacrifice, this is why I have this guilty feeling that I cannot wash away from my heart. I was told that since I had refused to sacrifice my wife, then I had to choose another man who is not blood related to me so that I can use him as my sacrifice. I fired the man who was working for me because I was told that he was not accepted to be used for the rituals. His blood had not been accepted, so I had to look for another gardener. I looked for this other young man whom I am using day and night. There is a spirit that comes to him when he is fast asleep. He keeps on having intercourse with a woman that he thinks he knows, but what he doesn't know is that he is married off to a spirit. When I employed him, he was still a young man and he didn't know anything. And when he came to my house, as I was showing him his sleeping quarters, I then told him that he had to give me all of his old clothes because I wanted to buy him some brand new clothes. I went back into the house, then I collected some of my son's clothes. He was really angry, but I knew the reason why. I went back to my gardener, then I gave him my son's clothes, and I took his old clothes and I went with them into my holy room. Whilst I was in my holy room, then I started to pray and I dedicated his clothes to his spiritual wife, and they got married in his dream. He doesn't even know that on the day that he had a dream, and in his dream he was getting married to a very beautiful woman, he does not know that I was even attending his wedding in the spiritual world. Hey, dear listeners, right there was a message that I received. Then I had to ask one of our admins to give us a translation.